Hello and welcome. We are just opening up today's session to all of you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here to learn more about this program here you see on your screen. This is the University of Cambridge Judge Business School Executive Education Program, FinTech Innovation, Disrupting the Financial Landscape. Here today, we're going to be learning all about this program content, what you can expect to learn, what are those key takeaways, and we're also going to learn about how this program is delivered to ensure that you have the very best learning experience possible so that you can make practical use application of your knowledge. So a lot in store here as we explore this program together. We are joined here by a team of program advisors. Program advisors are the course experts when it comes to the logistics for this program. When does the next program begin? What are some of the dates and times? They have all of those details. They are also first on the ground when it comes to those course policy questions you might have. How do I complete the program? What are some of those benefits? And of course, the registration process, they can help you with that as well. So as we make our way through the session overview today, if you have any questions at all related to those areas, our program support team, our advisors, they're right here with us. Let us know. You'll see here, there's a chat box. If you open the chat there and sort of monitor that chat throughout, you'll see messages appearing throughout the session from our program advisors, important messages and links. So be sure to take a look. And then you'll have that question and answer box there as well. You'll see that question submission area. If you do have any questions, let us know. We're going to be answering those questions here via type text throughout the session. And if you don't get a response, we'll respond by email within 12 hours. So a lot in store here for you as you learn more about this program. Thank you for joining and welcome to this global community of over 250,000 learners from all regions of the world coming together to learn shoulder to shoulder in programs like this. So very happy to have you with us here as part of this learning community. Let's learn more about this program. So here together today, the first thing I'm going to do is introduce you to your program faculty. They are the keynote speaker and here to tell you all about this program. So very honored to introduce here in just a moment your professor. We'll learn more about Cambridge Judge, sort of what is setting the stage for the learning here in this program. What is the mission, the pedagogical approach to learning that you can expect? From there, as promised, we'll learn all about the program details, those key learning objectives and highlights. We'll also learn about those learning experience components, how this program is delivered. Finally, we'll get to your questions here as well. So again, put those questions in for us as we make our way through the session, and let's go ahead and get started. So I do have here with us very pleased to introduce Professor Raghavendra Rao, who is the Sir Evelyn D. Rothschild Professor of Finance. Very pleased to have you with us here, Professor Rao. Would you like to jump in and say hello and greet the audience here today?
Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you all for joining this session. It's my great honor to actually have created this program for you, and I'm looking forward to chatting more with you over the course of the next hour.
Thank you again for being here with us today. So I'll be handing that spotlight over here in just a moment to our professor. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. Let's learn more about this broader ecosystem that you're joining here at Cambridge Judge Business School. As you can see here on your screen, many of you know the business school is really at the heart of Cambridge University. And the university really prides itself on advancing knowledge and leadership. And this part is key here, through people who leave a mark on the world. So what does that mean to advance knowledge and leadership through people who leave a mark on the world? Well, since 1990, Cambridge Judge has been doing just that. They really have forged a reputation as a center for rigorous thinking and high impact transformative education. This is transformative education, education that you can apply in transformative ways. And of course, your alumni cohort is a really broad and diverse group of innovators, creative thinkers, thoughtful and collaborative problem solvers, such as yourselves. current and future leaders that are drawn from a huge diversity of backgrounds and countries. So that's what you can expect out of the learning community here, this broader ecosystem that's really setting the stage for this program and the way in which it will be delivered and taught. So again, welcome to Cambridge Judge Business School. And again, thank you for being here in this session. This program itself was really designed for those who want an understanding of the impact of technological advancements, such as big data and AI and blockchain, and a deeper knowledge of how technology can address information problems. And of course, we know never before than today is there a better time or a more relevant time to be studying these themes and topics. So whether you're a mid to senior level banking and finance professional, you might be a CXO or FinTech startup, a trading strategist, a consultant, compliance regulatory professional. These are all sort of some of the personas that we had in mind really when we designed this program. Now, Professor Rao is here with us. He's going to tell us more about the program. And really, as we make our way through this slide here is kind of the crux of why you're here. Is this program right for me? And so we're going to be drawing on these themes throughout today's presentation, highlighting ways in which you can make that practical use application within your role, your industry, and your geography. So as questions arise, as we make our way through, is this really the right program? Is this really what I need to fit my sort of next step in my lifelong journey of learning? Please let us know here. Again, we have our program advisors and our professor here to help answer questions. So I will hand this over here in just a moment. Let's talk about that learning experience briefly here, and then I'm going to hand it over to Professor Rao to dive into those content details. But just to kind of set the stage, this program is a 6-module program. It consists of video lectures that are on demand, brief 5 to 7 minute video clips that you can watch on your own schedule as many times as you need to, that really describe the core concepts that you're covering. From there, you step away from those video lectures, you roll up your sleeves and you interact and engage with one another and with the content. That's really what sets this program apart, unlike a massive open online course or reading a book or listening to a podcast or a video. This course really challenges you to interact and engage with the content, to learn as you go at your own pace in an environment that really challenges you to integrate your learning, not only within the program, but within your professional role as well. So it's designed to be convenient to allow you to do that. That's how this kind of cadence works. At the beginning of each of these 6 weeks, a set of content will be released, including those video lectures we talked about. There's assignments, question and answer sessions, discussions, all of these engaging components within that week. And you and your peers will be going through that content together in cadence from week to week. Your daily schedule is yours to design. You're looking for about 4 to 6 hours a week across these 6 weeks. So that gives you a little bit of framing on the logistical end. Again, program advisors are here if you have any further questions related to dates and scheduling. We're going to start off this program with an entire week of orientation. So you'll get to know your colleagues, you'll get to know your faculty, you'll get to know the program, you'll have a chance to build your own profile within the platform and really set the stage for your learning. The platform's available on the go from a mobile device or a tablet. You can watch the videos and engage in everything from multiple devices. So you'll have that full week just to get to know the platform, one another, and then you'll dive into that 6 weeks of intensive learning. You'll be building a lot of relationships and learning across a lot of different layers. Yourself, you have your peers, you have your course leaders, you have your course faculty, and this broader community at Cambridge Judge. Your course leaders are industry experts who are asked to come into this program and serve as your day-to-day teaching fellows, really guiding your overall learning experience. They give you individualized attention. So as you think about, really planning a learning profile that works for you, that works for your industry challenges and your curiosities, you're going to have that one-on-one support from your course leader, giving you that feedback, grading your assignments, hosting weekly office hour sessions, a chance for you to turn on your audio and visual and engage in live discussions on course themes that were outlined by your professors. So a lot of relationships, a lot of activity. And we really believe that that gives you not only a deep understanding, but also a broadened scope of understanding as as you see these themes and concepts coming to life in other professional roles and geographies and areas. So you're going to get a broad understanding through those peer-to-peer and learning facilitator engagements. You have live webinars with your faculty. Everything is kept current. It's a very dynamic and engaging program. So 2 key words here: what's the learning experience? It's convenient and it's interactive. So a lot in store here as you make your way through this program. The follow-up, you'll have that 24-hour support throughout your time in the program, and you'll have access to this course for an entire calendar year. So you have a week of orientation, a 6-week intensive learning experience, and then the remainder of that calendar year to continue engaging with the course content as you bring these ideas to life. So that's what you'll be doing in this program. You'll, hopefully you'll join us and you'll get to experience what it's like here to be in the program. To tell us more about how this program has been designed in terms of the curriculum and the content, I'm going to now hand over the spotlight here to our professor. Professor Rao, as mentioned here, is the Sir Evelyn D. Rothschild Professor of Finance at Cambridge Judge Business School. He was also the past president of the European Finance Association and a past editor of Financial Management. He's a founder and director of the Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance and a member of the Cambridge Corporate Governance Network. He has served as a principal for Barclay Global Investors and is an associate editor of the Journal of Corporate Finance, the Journal of Banking and Finance, Financial Review, and the Quarterly Journal of Finance. His work has been covered frequently by the New York Times, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, The Economist, among others, and his research interest focuses on how investors and firms acquire and use information. So Professor Rao, that was a lot to cover here as I teed up and introduced you, but I'd love to invite you in here to the frame and hear more from you, your personal journey to this work and to designing this program. So thanks for being here. Could you tell us a little bit more about what brought you to this industry work?
Thank you very much, Marie. So basically, as Marie pointed out, my interest is about how people and companies process and use information. Now, one of the things that's been happening over the past 10 years or so, about 2008, so about 14 years or so, is that the amount of information which is available about people has exploded exponentially. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you have, smartphones which are tracking us every day, all through the day. We have Fitbits, we have sensors in our houses, we have our connections to the internet. The sheer amount of data available about us has exploded. So the question is, the amount of information about us has exploded as well. So the focus of my research is all about how does this amazing increase in information allow us to make better decisions. So this can be good or bad, right? For example, if you have too much information, you could be overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information you have. You may actually take worse decisions than if you had less information. It's kind of like going to a restaurant and having 400 items on the menu. I mean, you'd prefer to have fewer but better pieces of information. So how does technology help us process this amazing amount of information? And so the course was designed about 3 areas. We talk about big data, the increased information. We talk about methods to process that information, which is artificial intelligence. And we talk about methods to save and store the information confidentially, which is cryptography and blockchain technology. Right? So that's how I organized the course. It was sort of things which are interesting to me personally. How do you use information to make a decision? And that's what the course is all about.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Certainly that passion comes through as you talk about this program. I'm going to share back out the screen so you can talk more in detail about the curricular focus here in this course. But thank you, firstly, for designing this program, certainly needed here, and very, very honored and happy to learn more about it. So here's those key takeaways. Would love to learn more from you about this program. So I'm going to hand it over to you for the next part of our agenda today. Thanks again.
Okay, so coming back to the program, the basic question, as I said a few minutes ago, was about how people are affected by the use of technology. In particular, I'm focusing on the finance industry, right? So what we're going to be talking about is how the financial services sector is being changed by the availability of of information. We're going to talk about different problems of information. In fact, we're going to talk about 3 problems of information. One is what we call imperfect information. I don't have enough information available to make a particular decision. Second thing I'm going to talk about is asymmetric information. The person on the other side of the trade has more information than I do when we are making a particular type of decision. And the third one is behavioral issues. Even if we have information, we make mistakes in processing that level of information. So we have behavioral biases. We are overconfident, we are over-optimistic, we have things like self-attribution and so on. And these things make us allow us to make mistakes, and we don't even realize that we're prone to making those mistakes when we treat that information. So the course is about how technology is allowing us to address these information problems. How does it help us collect more information to solve the imperfect information problem? How does that help us solve the asymmetric information problem? You have more information than I do. Can I figure out what information you have? And finally, how does it help us solve or worsen the behavioral bias problem? So if, for example, technology can predict what kind of behavioral bias you have, I can program that technology to help you overcome the biases, or I can take advantage of the biases to sell you more products. All 3 of them, all these 3 different types of information are what we're going to cover in this particular course. Let me go into more detail into exactly what each module covers. Marie, could you go to the next slide? Thank you. So as Marie mentioned, there are 6 modules in this program. The first module is about basically the whole concept of information and how it feeds into innovation in the financial services sector. The second one focuses on the first type of information. That's the imperfect information. I don't have enough information. And it talks about how big data is being used to solve the imperfect information problem. I'm collecting more information to improve the amount of information I have when I need to make a decision. But this only helps if I actually have access to that technology. As a common man, I may not have access to all this technology, but I would like my information to be confidential and secure. So how do I trust my counterparty? That's the area of blockchains and cryptography. So module 3 is all about blockchains, cryptography, public-private key encryption, smart contracts, non-fungible tokens, things like that. Then we get to the area of asymmetric information. You have information that I have when I'm making a decision. For example, you could be a used car salesman. As a used car salesman, you have more information about the car than I do, but you would always tell me that the car is good, whether it's good or not. That's the area of asymmetric information. And this module, module 4, will talk about how technology is helping to solve the information asymmetry problem. Module 5 is all about the mistakes we make in processing information, and about how behavioral solutions can be used to help you overcome the biases or take advantage of it. So this is the area of psychology and finance, and how technology either worsens the problem or helps the problem. The final module, module 6, is all about the dark side of all this amazing new information available. As I said in the previous module, the data can be used to actually nudge you into good directions or bad directions. But it can also make mistakes. It can classify you as something you're not. And what happens then? How do you appeal? How do you talk to an algorithm and say, you made a mistake? If you're kicked out of Facebook or Twitter for some reason, which you don't even know because some algorithm thought you were fraudulent, how do you get back on? How do you appeal? These are the questions which the last module will talk about. But let me get a little more in detail into each of these modules. Marie, next slide. So the first one sets the scene, right? The module talks about what are the traditional roles that banks and other types of financial intermediaries play. For example, if you're a bank, why would I as a person need a bank, right? First thing is, I want to be able to deposit my money in a bank. The bank wants to loan out that money at longer periods of time in order to make money. If there's a mismatch between my short-term deposits and the long-term loans, this can create a bank run. And we see bank runs everywhere. It's not so much in the formal regulated financial intermediary world, because that's been solved largely by the introduction of deposit insurance, even though we did see a bank run here in the UK in 2008 when Northern Rock went bankrupt. But most of the time, most bank runs are very safe now. Banks are safe because they have deposit insurance and they're heavily regulated. But you do see examples in the crypto world. For example, FTX went bankrupt a week ago simply because it was almost something like, there was a mismatch between the liabilities. It owed the deposits from investors deposited with it and its asset which it had lent out. But this gives you a sense of the changing role of these intermediaries. The crypto world is kind of like a decentralized version of the regulated financial intermediaries we all know. So how do you manage something in this world? How do you decide as a bank, what should I do? Should I compete with these guys? I have all these regulations on my head. What's the best way of surviving in a world where information is changing so fast and where technology is changing so fast? Essentially, what's happening is information access is shifting from the bank to the individual. Take the introduction of open banking laws in the EU, for example. You should be able to tell your banking platform, this service wants my information. They will need to be able to go in and get my data so they can offer me a better service than you do. Does this hurt the investor? Does it help the investor? Does it hurt the bank? The answers to this are not quite as obvious as they think. And so the three main information problems will be discussed in this module. And those, as I said, are imperfect information. We don't have enough information. Asymmetric information. The person on the other side has more information than I do. Or behavioral problems. I don't know what to do with the information that I do have. Marie, next slide. Okay. The second module goes to the first information problem, the imperfect information story. Right? So to solve the imperfect information story, we need data. And we have that data. That data is being collected all the time, everywhere, right? So every time you go out with your phone is tracking how far you go. It tracks near whom you've been. It tracks how long you've been talking to that person. All of this was useful, for example, during COVID, when you had COVID tracing, all done through your phone, and your phone telling the health authorities exactly where you are. This can be positive. It can also be negative. But this module is all about how big data is helping to solve that information asymmetry problem. However, data by itself is useless. Right? I mean, it's just data. There's a sheer amount of data. It's exponentially grown since 2008. It needs to be organized. It needs to be cataloged. There needs to be ways to organize this data so that an artificial intelligence system can take advantage of it. But this module talks about how do you get big data into a format that an AI system or an algorithm or some kind of formula can understand. All right, can we go to the next slide? So module 3 is all about counterparty risk. That is, for example, I don't have big data. I'm just an ordinary person. Maybe I want to send you money or get money from you. So I don't want to depend on a bank because the banks charge me fees if I send money to the US, for example, or anywhere outside the UK. So how do I get this level of trust? How do I trust you to send me the goods I want? And yet you trust me to send you the payment after receiving the goods. I mean, this is a two-way street. So how does the use of blockchain and smart contracts enable trust without knowing who your counterparty is? So we'll talk about blockchains here. We'll talk about cryptocurrencies, for example, Bitcoin, which is a public permissionless blockchain system. We'll talk about users of blockchain, current and future users of blockchain. And we'll talk about how smart contracts are allowing us to change the world of financial services, right? For example, you can have a contract for which lasts for 10 minutes. In the real world, with regulated financial intermediaries, a 10-minute contract is just unfeasible. I mean, totally infeasible. But here, it might be possible. Okay, we'll talk about that in this module. Next slide, please. Okay, now two of the biggest problems that banks have or any financial intermediaries have is asymmetric information. In particular, they worry about moral hazard and adverse selection. What are these two things? Well, to put it simply, moral hazard is after a contract is signed, adverse selection is before the contract is signed. What does that mean? If you are a car insurance company, for example, what are you worried about? You're worried that you're going to attract the wrong type of drivers. You're going to attract the bad drivers whom you do not want. So how do you make sure that you attract a big selection of good drivers to offset the losses you're going to make on the bad drivers? If you set your policies wrongly, you end up attracting the wrong type of people. That's called the adverse selection problem. You do not want these people to sign contracts, but they want to sign contracts with you. However, once you sign the contract with somebody whom you think is a good driver, that person is now insured. So they can change their behavior after they have been, after they're insured. They're like, you know what, my car's insured, fully insured, I'm paying the insurance premium. Maybe I'll drive a little more recklessly, not enough maybe to have an accident, but if I have a scratch on the car, I don't worry too much about it. I know the insurance is going to pick up the tab. So that's the adverse selection, that's a moral hazard problem. One before the contract, adverse selection, one after the contract, moral hazard. And so these are the big problems that banks and any other regulated financial intermediary face. So this module talks about how technology is reducing the effect of these problems. We'll talk about how signaling models are used. How do I signal that I'm in fact a good driver? Because if I cannot tell you that I'm a good driver, you're the insurance company, I'm the driver, you will charge me more. So if I can prove that I'm a good driver, I signal my ability to drive, you'll be giving me a lower rate. Screening, on the other hand, is you as the insurance company offer me a bunch of contracts. Which contract I pick tells you whether I'm a good driver or a bad driver. So we'll talk about issues like that. We'll talk about common ideas like how does interest rates, offering you an interest rate, tell me if you accept the interest rate I offer you, what does it tell me about you? Are you a good borrower? Are you a bad borrower? Will you pay back the loan? Will you not pay back the loan? These are the issues we're going to consider in this module. Marie, next slide, please. The third type of information problem we're talking about is behavioral problems. Behavioral problems are when we get information and then we don't know how to analyze it. We make mistakes in analyzing that information. Examples include overconfidence or conservatism, paying attention only to salient news, not paying attention to news which is out of sight, out of mind, literally. So in this module, we'll talk about how technology is helping us address these behavioral biases. We'll talk about the impact of behavioral biases on decision making. We'll talk about how non-solutions impact consumer behavior. And we'll talk about even things like wealth management. How is it that I can analyze how much risk you're willing to take and use a machine learning algorithm to place you in the right type of investment portfolio? The advantage and the beauty of these kind of algorithms is that they can operate in real time. That means, in other words, if your risk-taking ability changes, I can adjust my algorithms on the dot. I mean, rather than waiting every year till you renew your premiums or something, I can keep adjusting as I go along. Okay. Next slide, please, Marie. However, the big problem with all these types of technology is that it can make mistakes, right? Either deliberate or accidental. Deliberate mistakes are when companies design algorithms which take advantage of your behavioral biases. TikTok, for example, or Facebook or Twitter, all of these have intermittent reward systems. These are intermittent reward systems are like you don't get a tweet, or you don't get an email, or you don't get a post every 10 minutes. If it's regular, people forget about it. The pattern is encoded in your brain, you forget. But if it's irregular, you're like, oh, I just got a tweet, and you quickly check the tweet. It's impossible to avoid the dopamine rush that goes to your head when you're getting an irregular, intermittent reward of some burst of attention going in some other direction. So that's a deliberate engineering of an algorithm to keep you focused and hooked onto a platform. But it can also be accidental. For example, if you are arrested and you're taken before a judge, in many cases in America, the government will use an algorithm to predict whether, if they let you out of jail, will you do another crime. And it turns out that in many cases, people are denied bail because the algorithm says that they are going to commit another crime. The problem is the data going to the algorithm. Much of the data is gathered from poor people or Black people who have been arrested. The white people who are let out of jail may have committed crimes, but they were never arrested because the police were not looking at them. But you put that training data into an algorithm, the algorithm will automatically classify a poor Black person as highly crime, prone versus a rich white person almost never, even though in reality, those numbers may not actually be accurate. But that's how the algorithm works. Now, if you're arrested again, how do you know that this was because of something you did or something you were predicted to do? That's almost like the movie Minority Report, where they are predicting your behavior on the basis that you might commit a crime, even if you don't. So how do we solve these problems? How do you solve the problems of incorrect predictions by these innovative artificially intelligent systems? Okay, Marie, next slide. So some examples. In China, for example, right now, they have what's called a social credit score. A social credit score allows the system in China to classify you as to how valuable you are as a human being. And you get rewards for the higher your score is. Your score might depend on, for example, if you praise the government, or depending on what you buy. If you buy nappies, for example, you're a responsible father. If you buy Clash of Clans or another video game, you're an irresponsible video gamer. So government will change your credit score, which makes it more easy for you to buy a train ticket or more difficult for you to travel anywhere. Or we'll talk about digital disruptors, FinTech firms, big tech firms attacking the space of public financial services like Wells Fargo. We'll talk about peer-to-peer lending models. For example, Kiva or Lending Club or all these companies which are providing funding for unbanked people all over the world. We'll talk about problems with smart contract technology, such as the Digital Autonomous Organization, which in 2016 raised over $150 million and lost almost all of it thanks to a bug in their software. Of course, they got it back by rewriting history. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Marie, next slide. So overall, this is how the course is designed, right? We have these 6 modules talking about these 3 major information problems: imperfect information, asymmetric information, and behavioral biases. And the 3 major technologies we're going to talk about in this course are big data, AI, and cryptography. Those 3 technological innovations are trying to address these 3 problems of information. So, Marie, with that, I'm going to hand this back to you.
Thank you so much, Professor, again, for being here and taking us through this content. Certainly, this course has been very thoughtfully outlined here. So let's talk a little bit about next steps as you seek to learn more about this program. And then from there, we'll hear again from Professor Rao. So he's going to stay on with us and come back in here in just a moment for sort of final words of wisdom. So stay tuned. But we did want to share with you a few components that are other assets beyond just the knowledge that you learn and those relationships that you build with your peers, you're really, sort of the first day that you step into this program, you're broadening out your professional network, you're gaining peers and colleagues, you're gaining sort of advanced level mentorship and support from key faculty and advisors. So there's a lot in store there, but you also have an opportunity here to earn this certificate of completion you see here on your screen. Many of you know this course here does culminate in an opportunity for you to earn this certificate of completion here. This is a formal credential from Cambridge University, Judge Business School, Executive Education. And it really helps to showcase your learning here, but also for those of you looking to springboard into career advancement opportunities, certainly having the certificate will help you to showcase your learning here and continue to make those career advancement moves. The other thing too, as you think about your learning, you have your peers, you have your professional network, this new knowledge that you're taking away, a certificate of completion, and also sort of direction on what's next in your lifelong learning journey. And so we hope that as a next step, you'll get connected with an advisor, because we want you to be able to have those deep advising conversations as you think about your lifelong learning journey, this program and other programs here at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School that you might want to come back and take. So this course really offers you a lot of these various kind of learning components, but also these peripheral supports that will help you advance your career and advance your lifelong learning and stay relevant in today's modern workforce. We know that the sort of half-life of skills today is about 5 years, meaning the skills of today have about 5 years before they become obsolete. And for technical skills, it's more like 2.5 years. That's what the World Economic Forum has quoted. So this lifelong learning, continuing to take programs like this, continuing to stay ahead of advancements so that you can make better business decisions and really bring this into life and be one of those people who leave a mark on the world. This course is really going to help get you there. So we hope you'll join us. Getting connected with an advisor here, if you haven't done so already, you can go over to the course website. You see the link there on your screen, and you also can find that link there in your chat box. The course website will allow you to also connect with an advisor. You can just schedule an appointment right there, one click away. You can also download the full course brochure, which is everything we've described here and more. And then thirdly, you can begin that application process for the course. So the next step is to go on over to the website, get connected with an advisor, learn more about when the course begins. And of course, if you have any further questions, let us know now as we close out the session. So I will be inviting our professor back in here for any closing remarks. Now's the time to put those questions in if you have them. But otherwise, Professor Rao, so as we think about this program, and I know you've designed this course to be applicable broadly across industries, across geographies. Could you tell us more about what your hopes are for this program and any final thoughts that you'd like to share here with us today?
Right. Thank you very much, Marie. As Marie pointed out, the half-life of most of these skills is 2.5 to 5 years, right? So one of the things which I would like to do with this program is not talk too much about this particular skill. It's not like learning C++ or COBOL or some other language. The thing is, this has to be valuable to you going forward. It should provide you with a framework to think about how the world of technology is evolving. So later on, even 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, when you see a new type of technological development, you should be able to fit it into this framework and say, what is it that financial institutions are doing? What are the problems they're facing? Okay, if it's information, how should we deal with these information problems? So this program is meant to talk to you at a more fundamental level than just giving you a superficial set of skills, which will go out of date in 2.5 to 5 years.
Thank you again, Professor Rao, for being here, telling us more about this program and all of your advice and wisdom here. Thank you for being here. For those of you with us who are still here, be sure to get connected there with an advisor if you haven't done so already. They can also help you explore financing options. I saw a few questions come through related to flexible and transparent financing options, special group enrollment pricing, other discounts and benefits. Your advisors can walk you through those as well. If the next date doesn't work for you and you want to know when does the next course begin beyond that, again, your advisor is closest to those details, so certainly get connected there. They can talk about pricing, they can talk about dates, and really help you explore all of the options. So thank you again for being here. It's been an honor learning shoulder to shoulder with each and every one of you. We hope to see you back here in the program. But for now, we will be signing off with a heartfelt good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to all of you from around the globe. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Murray.